Hello, welcome. My name is Lauren with Lauren Teaches Flute, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about those icky kind of passages that come up in music, or maybe you're learning a piece of music and there's just those particular sections that make you a little bit nervous. A lot of times these are the more technically challenging sections, or maybe you're a little bit nervous if your fingers will do what they're supposed to do at certain parts of the music. So how do we clean this up? How do we make it to where we have a little bit more confidence in those particular places? So that's what we're going to be covering in this video. Before I jump in, please subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I would love to have you here. Also know that I do offer online private lessons. So if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, then I'll leave a link to where you can learn more information about private lessons with me in the description below. And let's get right into this video. So the example I want to use today is something that I immediately thought of when I was thinking of the topic of this video. And I want to talk about a passage that was difficult for me in my college auditions. I don't know why this made me so nervous. I don't know what it was, but for some reason this passage I really got mixed up on, and I got nervous about it every time I had to play it in my college auditions. So this is the advice I would give my former self in this video. So the passage is that A major scale in thirds in the Mozart G major concerto. And I'll just play, it's a really short little part I'm going to play. So that part freaked me out. So that's, I'm going to talk about it. I've always felt like I got tripped up, something about going from E to G sharp. And I just also felt like I got really in my head about it. So this is what I would do on a passage like that, or any other passage that comes up. These are the techniques and methods I would use to clean them up and give me a lot more confidence in playing them. So the first technique I want to recommend is what I'm going to call the anchor note technique. I've heard it called anchor notes, and this is what anchor notes mean to me. Anchor notes are something I would use just as a practice tool, and I would hold or slightly emphasize the notes before the problem. So in this case, with this A major scale in thirds figure, the problem for me tended to be the E to the G sharp. So I would hold either the E, I would hold a fermata on the E because that's the note before the problem, or I would go two notes before the problem and hold the F sharp. So one version would look like, or sound like, that. The other example where I'm holding two notes before the problem would sound like, and I'm mentally rehearsing the next notes that I have to play while I'm holding the note before the problem or two notes before the problem. So that's one method I really like to use. And then after I've done that a few times, I might just almost think about them as longer without actually playing them longer, or slightly emphasize or accent those notes when I'm playing through this passage. So let's see what, I don't even know if it would sound any different. It might sound a little bit different. So I emphasize the E there. And I'm emphasizing the F sharp. I'm kind of thinking of those notes as notes I can land on so that I can prepare for the E to the G sharp. So that's one method I really like to use. So to make it really simple, the anchor note method is simply locating where exactly the problem is, where your fingers get mixed up, and hold the note before the problem, Try also holding the note 2 notes before the problem. Okay, I really like that method, and so that's definitely one technique I would recommend. The other technique I would recommend is the 1, 2, 3 notes per beat method. So I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos where I put the metronome on. I could do it right at tempo, or I could do it slightly under tempo. So Mozart in G, maybe my final tempo is something like 116 or probably 116. And I would just have the metronome at 116 and do 1 note per beat on that passage. So I don't have my metronome with me. Making this video, a lot of times I've been actually using my phone, and I'm actually filming with my phone right now. So 116 would be somewhere around, so let me, something like that. Maybe it's a little faster, but somewhere around there. So I do 1 note per beat at that tempo. Etc. Then 2 notes per beat. 3 notes per beat. I really like that one. And then 4 notes per beat. I could even start on the downbeat, like pretend this phrase starts on the downbeat, even though it usually starts on an upbeat. That's a good one. And then finally, as written. And of course, another method I like to recommend when practicing these kind of passages is the changing the rhythm long short or short long. So I do a little bit of that. That's long short and then short long. Making sure all my fingers are changing at the exact right time that they need to be. Also paying attention to my finger technique. Are my fingers relaxed? Are they close to the keys? Am I doing more than I need to, or am I using inefficient finger technique? Paying attention to all of those things. The other thing I would suggest to my former self in dealing with this kind of problem is it was just also just a mental thing of tensing up and saying, oh, I hope I get this right, and kind of freezing up and locking up before I'm playing that passage. But now it's like the more technically difficult something is, the more I cue myself to really relax as much as possible. It's like, especially on those parts, I ingrain it into my practice to make sure I have really efficient finger technique, that I'm not doing too much, that I'm not overdoing anything or tensing my fingers. So I'm watching this back and I'm editing the video, and this last part, I don't know, I feel like I could have said it better. So I don't mean like relaxing like a blob, or just like completely just laying on the ground and relaxing during those difficult passages. It's simply just, especially during these passages that may cause a little bit of fear, anxiety, or trigger that, I make sure I just stick to my plan. I make sure I stick to my technique. I make sure I stick to playing efficiently and not doing too much or not trying too hard in an attempt to get the passage out or to play it correctly, because that's often what we do. So I ingrain it, especially in those parts of my practice, to stick to my fundamentals and stick to my good habits. Okay, it's like I'm more aware of those and intentional about those at these parts. Also, something I want to mention is usually if you have a big piece of music, or maybe I'm working on the whole Mozart concerto, or maybe the whole first movement of this Mozart concerto, and maybe there's just one or two parts that are like that for me, where I'm like, oh, that part and that part, I'm just like, I hope those go okay, you know? So for those two parts, every single day that I'm practicing that piece, I like to do the 1, 2, 3 notes per beat method every single day for those particular parts that might make me a little bit nervous. I would do the 1, 2, 3, 4 notes per beat method and anything else I needed to do, but I would go through a series of exercises, and then I would always go back and play it slow, and I would do it every day. And maybe I would just do that on a couple little parts, and then I would run through the whole thing and make sure it sounds really good, clean, and I'm doing that consistently. So yeah, I would definitely do that every day if it's something that my fingers tended to get tripped up on. Another suggestion I would like to share in this video is to give yourself that feeling of being able to, it might not make sense when I first say it, but I'll explain it as I go. Have the sensation that that passage is in slow motion. So how do we do that? So the way I would approach this is, let's say that the final tempo for that Mozart concerto movement 1 might be 116. So maybe that's my final tempo, that's my performance tempo, and that's what I'm planning to play the Mozart concerto at. So if that's the case, then I would make sure that I could play that passage, or maybe even more than that passage. Maybe I want to challenge myself to play the whole thing at a slightly faster tempo. Maybe for that particular passage, if it's making me nervous, I would make sure I could play it consistently well at maybe 138 or 144, and just seeing that my fingers can play it that fast. Then after I've practiced it up to that tempo, I would go back and play it at performance tempo 116, which then after playing it at 138 or 144 and going back to 116, it feels so easy and it feels slow and it feels like I have total control because it feels slow and easy at that tempo now. So that's another way you can gain more confidence on those particular sections. So those are my tips and suggestions on how to approach those tricky passages in music, especially passages maybe you feel like you've played them incorrectly or made mistakes on them a lot and you're just wanting to relearn it and iron it out and clean it up. These are all the things that I would do on those particular parts of music that might come up. So I hope this video was helpful and informative to you. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Until next time, take care. Bye.